What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Fireside Giants. I'm your host, Anthony Rivardo, and today we're going to be discussing Evan Neal, and his performance through the first 3 weeks of the season hasn't been too good. It's been a real struggle for the rookie 7th overall pick in the 2022 NFL Draft, but I'm personally not worried about it, and I'm going to explain why I don't think you should be worried. I know my co-host who usually joins me, Alex, is also not worried. I don't think there's too much of a cause for concern regarding Evan Neal's performance through 3 weeks. Now, I've seen some people on Twitter going a little crazy, talking about Evan Neal is a bust. All right. It's been 3 games into his NFL career. He is a rookie. Let's get that out of the way. He is not a bust just yet. I'm not saying he won't be a bust, but I don't think he will be a bust. And definitely right now, he is not a bust. It's only been 3 games. Let's give it some more time, right? And let's go ahead and discuss why Evan Neal, you shouldn't be too worried about him. I know that the Giants aren't even worried about him. This is something that the New York Giants said that they expected was struggle early on in Evan Neal's career. So let's go ahead and dive into some of these quotes that I've got. And then also, I want to compare him to Andrew Thomas. Now, here's a main thing. Everybody loves Andrew Thomas right now. He's the #1 graded offensive tackle by Pro Football Focus this year, and he's been playing great. And he was great last season. And honestly, Andrew Thomas, the way he's playing, looks like he could be an all-pro player for the New York Giants this season. So we all love Andrew Thomas, but how quickly do we forget how poorly he played in his rookie season? Because Andrew Thomas was quite bad as a rookie. And Evan Neal having a very bad rookie season. Let's not go ahead, go crazy, compare him to Eric Flowers. Let's be positive here. Let's compare him to Andrew Thomas. You know, 2 guys who had like a lot of, confidence coming out of college, right? They were really big products, high-ranking prospects. Of course, Andrew Thomas, the 4th overall pick in the 2020 NFL Draft. Evan Neal, the 7th overall pick in the 2022 NFL Draft. These were high-caliber prospects that both stepped into their NFL careers and struggled immensely with the New York Giants. So let's just keep it patient with Evan Neal, but let's go ahead and talk a little bit more in depth as to why there is no cause for major concern just yet with Evan Neal and why you shouldn't be worried about him. Now, here's one thing that I'll say. Evan Neal is a very self-aware player. When reporters are talking to him in the locker rooms, he's not shy from the fact that he's playing poorly. He's being very open about that. He is disappointed in his play. He's making that known that he's disappointed in his play and that he wants to get better. Here's a quote from him post-game against Dallas on Monday night. He was asked if he's ever had a game that bad. He said, quote, never. Then he thought about it a little longer, and then he said, no, never. So he doubled down, made sure in his head he's never had a game worse than the one that he had against Dallas. And I think that we all know that. Watching that game, it was a real struggle for Evan Neal. I mean, that was a pitiful performance. Granted, Dallas had some really good pass rushers up front, but for Evan Neal, you got to be better than that, right? That was a really tough performance from him. DeMarcus Lawrence kind of just had his way with Evan Neal multiple times throughout that game, and he really struggled just to get anything done in pass protection. He allowed 3 sacks, 5 total pressures on 49 opportunities, and he was 27.1 PFF pass blocking grade. It was a real struggle. Evan Neal playing that right tackle position for the New York Giants, it hasn't been good, and he has been somewhat of a liability for the Giants this year on the right side of their offensive line. Thankfully, Andrew Thomas on the left side of the offensive line has been great, but Evan Neal, yes, has been struggling immensely. As I mentioned, 54 pass blocking snaps, 3 sacks, 5 total pressures, and he really just wasn't getting the job done. But Brian Dable is also not totally worried about it and not super concerned. Now, I understand had there been better offensive line play against the Dallas Cowboys, the Giants might have been able to pull out a win there. I get that, but also keep in mind, guys, this is the first year of the New York Giants under the Dable and Shane regime. This is a rebuild at the end of the day, in year 1 for a rebuild to start off 2-0. That was shocking. That was impressive. But we're going to expect some growing pains. We're going to expect a lot of downs to come with those ups. So it's going to be a season of ups and downs. But Brian Dable is also steadying the course, and he's not too worried about it. He said, quote, we just keep on building the technique. There's growing pains. I would say it's not just Evan Neal, which he got beat a couple times on the edge by a pretty good player. There was a lot of things we could have done better, end quote. And that's absolutely true. We all know that. The New York Giants never even made it into the red zone on Monday night. They need to be better on the offense in general. They need to get better at getting into the red zone and then scoring touchdowns. The one touchdown that they scored was that long 36-yard run by Saquon Barkley. You can't constantly bank on Saquon Barkley making some magical long touchdown run every single game, right? I mean, it's going to happen rather frequently because Saquon Barkley is one of the best running backs in the NFL, but you can't bank on that. The Giants offense needs to be better. And it wasn't just Evan Neal who struggled. We saw struggle performances from the left guard spot, from the center spot, the right guard spot, everyone except for Andrew Thomas in all reality. But and Brian Daboll has some more quotes as well. Quote, and protection-wise, after going through it, whether it's the chips, the running backs, one-on-ones against the blitzers, the inside movement, the games inside, there was quite a bit of things. But Evan's a diligent guy. We'll work on improving him and try to be better next week, end quote. And that's really what it is with a rookie offensive lineman. Week by week, you just got to learn from those mistakes. And Evan Neal, he, as Brian Daboll said, is a diligent guy. He's taking all this into account. He's having his growing pains right now, absolutely, and they're going to continue. This is not going to be like week 4, Evan Neal steps out and just dominates and is the highest graded PFF offensive tackle in the NFL. That's very unlikely. Could that happen? Maybe. I mean, Evan Neal, we know that he's a tremendous talent. He was phenomenal for Alabama in college, but he is a rookie going up against NFL level offensive or defensive linemen. And it's going to be some time before he really puts it all together the same way that it was for Andrew Thomas. Now, of course, on that Monday night game, it was a real struggle for him. But as I just mentioned, Evan Neal, he allowed 5 total pressures, according to PFF. And according to ESPN, Daniel Jones was pressured 24 times. On 24 of his dropbacks, he faced pressures. And he's been pressured 40.8% of his snaps this season, second only to Justin Fields, who the Giants will be going up against next week, hoping that KT can get his first sack against that bad offensive line. Bury Justin Fields, that would be great. But speaking to this point, 5 pressures from Evan Neal on 24 dropbacks. There were still 19 pressures allocated to all those other positions. It's not just Evan Neal. He's not the one killing the Giants offense. There is a lot for them to work on, tying into that point that Brian Daboll made, saying that there is a lot of things to improve on. There absolutely is. Now, we did a film breakdown last week on Evan Neal, or maybe it was 2 weeks ago in his first performance. And we discussed Evan Neal and how he's looked in pass protection. And we said that it's bad and there's a lot to clean up in terms of technique. But when he has the opportunity to anchor, he does anchor. Keep in mind that Evan Neal is a 6'8", 340-pound mammoth of a human being. He's powerful. He's been solid in the run game at times. But yeah, it's been a struggle for him. But at the end of the day, as Brian Daboll mentioned, it does come down to technique. And that's something that can be fixed. Now, if he's too weak to push offensive linemen or defensive linemen, rather, that's kind of hard to fix. That's more of a you don't have it in you. You're not strong enough. You don't have the caliber, physicality to play in the NFL. Evan Neal has that. He has all the intangible traits. It's just he needs to learn how to play football at the NFL level. Now, he was dominant over at Alabama, of course, but he does need to learn to play the pro game, and it's going to take some time to adjust. There is an adjustment period for rookie offensive tackles in the NFL. The edge rushers are faster, they're stronger, they're smarter, they've got better hands, and they've got better pass rushing moves, and that's all stuff that Evan Neal needs to adjust to, and it's going to take some time. But you know what? I think that the main thing to take away from this, though, is that Evan Neal is a young player who has a lot of time to grow. He was a rookie first-round pick, so he's got 4 years plus a 5th-year option on his contract. There is time for Evan Neal to turn things around, just the same way that there was time for Andrew Thomas to turn things around. If you take a look at Andrew Thomas's career and the way that that started out, in year 1, 2020, he had a 54.7 PFF pass blocking grade. In that season, he allowed 10 sacks on 575 pass blocking snaps, 616 pass blocking snaps, rather. 10 sacks, 8 hits, 39 hurries, and 57 total pressures. Really bad season from a pass protection standpoint for Andrew Thomas as a rookie, right? But let's take a look at year 2. And this isn't even the dominance of Andrew Thomas just yet, because if you remember, early on in 2021, last season, Andrew Thomas started the season off slow as well, and a bunch of people want to say Andrew Thomas is a bust. Andrew Thomas is a bust. Those same guys saying that right now are calling him an all-pro. So let's take a look at his 2021 season. Now, he had 517 pass blocking snaps in that season. He allowed only 2 sacks and 18 pressures compared to the 10 and 57. Now, that's a massive improvement. Granted, he played about 100 less pass blocking snaps. He was dealing with injury during the season. But once Andrew Thomas recovered from that injury and started playing at his highest level, I mean, going from 57 total pressures on 615 snaps to 18 and 517, that is a tremendous decrease in pressures allowed. And that's a tremendous developmental jump from Andrew Thomas. Should we expect that big of a jump from Evan Neal? Maybe not. But Andrew Thomas did start to play at a high level during the second half of last season, and now we know that he's been continuing that play. He's only allowed 6 pressures and 0 sacks through 3 games in the 2022 season. And like I said, everyone's looking at Andrew Thomas and saying he could be one of the best offensive tackles in the NFL if he keeps this up, and he should definitely be making an all-pro team at the end of the year if he continues this level of play. Who's to say that Evan Neal can't have a similar career trajectory, right? I mean, sure, it's been a struggle through 3 games, but keep in mind there's 14 games left on this schedule. It's a 17-game schedule in the NFL now. There's a lot of time for Evan Neal to grow as a rookie. And even if he doesn't get it done by the time he's a sophomore, during his sophomore season, he still has room to grow and he still has time to grow, just like Andrew Thomas had. It took Andrew Thomas over 2 years to now solidify himself as a premier offensive tackle, but he's doing that right now. He's solidifying himself as one of the best tackles in the NFL. Who's to say that Evan Neal can't do the same thing within his first 3 seasons? All right, it's only been 3 games. There's no reason to worry, no reason to jump ship, call him a bust just yet. I gave you all the stats right here, some of the quotes as well. The Giants aren't panicking. They knew there was going to be growing pains. We're not panicking. We've been telling you all off season long throughout the summer on the podcast, there's going to be growing pains. It's so rare to find offensive tackles that step into the NFL as a rookie and dominate. Rashawn Slater and Tristan Wirfs, they're oddities. They are not, your textbook rookie offensive tackles. It's very rare to find those guys. Andrew Thomas struggled. Mekhi Becton's still struggling. He's been injured, so you kind of give him a pass, but there's been a lot of offensive tackles, first-round picks that come through the NFL, and it takes them a while to catch on. But sometimes they do catch on, and maybe it takes them 3 years, but when they catch on, they really catch on. And I think that's what we're witnessing with Andrew Thomas right now, and I don't see any reason to say that Evan Neal can't have a catch-on season, whether that be towards the end of this year or in year 2 or 3. Again, it's only been 3 games. He's not a bust just yet. Let's hope that he remains healthy and is able to continue to grow in this rookie season. Again, there's going to be growing pains, a lot of peaks and valleys here in Evan Neal's rookie season, but he's taking it on the chin. He's taking it to the heart. He is upset with the way that he's playing, and he wants to be better. He's a diligent athlete. He's a smart athlete, and he's going to hit the books, hit the film room, and he's going to learn to get better. And that's really exciting for New York Giants fans because we know we've got a bookend on the left side. I'm really, really hoping and praying that Evan Neal does pan out and become that bookend on the right side, because if you got 2 bookends on your offensive line there, it makes the game a whole lot easier for your quarterback. So, like I said, guys, don't worry too much about Evan Neal just yet. I think he's going to be just fine, but let's take it week by week, see how he improves slowly, see if he's able to get better by the end of the season. And then, of course, we'll talk about how good we think he's going to be by the end of the year. But too soon to worry. I like Evan Neal a lot still. I think he was a great prospect coming out of the draft. I definitely think he was the best offensive tackle prospect in this year's draft, and I'm excited to see him continue to grow for our New York Giants. But if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, comment down below. What are your thoughts on Evan Neal? Do you think that he's a bust, or do you think that we need to give him some time and you're not too worried about it? Let me know down below in the comment section. Would love to hear from you there. Make sure to subscribe if you're new to the channel and ring the bell so you don't miss a video. I'll catch you on the next one. Have a good one, and let's go Giants.
So